This is the last video of the whole series on IGCSE music, Cambridge, the Baroque era, and now you can start doing your revision because all the other topics of the Baroque music I have on my channel. Now, Concerto Grosso is one of the most exciting types of Baroque music. And the word concerto comes from the Italian meaning get together, or from the Latin meaning a dispute. Now, this is not a new form. This form already started in the Renaissance. And we had composers there. You will see the word there, or the name there, Giovanni Gabrieli. And it's the idea of opposition and strong contrast. And this led to the Baroque Concerto Grosso. So that Grosso, big. So if I say big, I have a group playing. In this, composers like Corelli, Handel and Bach in his Brandenburg Concertos 2, 4 and 5 contrasted two groups of instruments. A small group of soloists, often two violins and a cello. It can also be two flutes or two recorders and a violin. So as long as you know that we have a small group of soloists that I call the concertino. And the contrast is that they perform against the orchestra of strings called either the ripieno, filling in, or tutti, everybody, or all of the people playing. So I have a small group of soloists called the concertino, and then I have the rest of the orchestra that I call the ripieno or tutti. A harpsichord or organ continuo filled out the texture when the ripieno group was playing, and continued to provide supporting harmonies on occasions when the concertino instruments played on their own. So the harpsichord performed the whole time. Harpsichord performed the whole time, whether the concertino played or whether the ripieno played. Now, your assignment 37 that you're going to do for this week, you have to listen to a part of Corelli's Christmas Concerto and then to the first movements of Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 2, identifying in the Corelli and in the Bach the concertino group and the continuo group. So the concertino group, I know, is the small group, and the continuo, who plays the continuo? The harpsichord. Okay? And I can also have the cello with that. Maybe it's not a harpsichord, maybe it's the organ. So you really have to listen that you can identify those instruments. So that's the topic, Concerto Grosso, that you have to understand. And another type of concerto that we found in the Baroque time was the solo concerto. From the Concerto Grosso grew the solo concerto, in which a single instrument was pitted against the weight of the string orchestra. The idea of contrast became stronger still, and the composer often gave the soloist some difficult and exciting passages to play. Solo concertos were most often in 3 movements: quick, slow, quick. The quick movements were built up in ritornello form. Ritornello means return and refers to the main theme, which was played by the orchestra at the beginning of the movement, then returned more or less complete after each lightly accompanied solo section. Composers marked each ritornello section with the word tutti, everyone or all, and so a plan of a movement in ritornello form might be written out as tutti 1, then solo 1, tutti 2, everybody plays there again, solo 2, the solo instrument, tutti 3, and so on. And your next assignment is the Italian composer Antonio Vivaldi wrote more than 500 concertos, including both kinds, the Concerto Grosso and the solo concerto. Listen to the third movement of Autumn from his set of 4 violin concertos called the Four Seasons. This third movement, called the Hunt, is in ritornello form. Here is the beginning of the ritornello. Ta 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 dum. So there you see that pattern. Make a note of how many times this ritornello theme appears. Then afterwards, make out a plan to show how Vivaldi builds up his music. So if I have a plan, it's like this: tutti 1, solo 1, tutti 2, solo 2. So that is the assignment that you have. In a previous recording, I explained and described the orchestra of that time, but let's go through that again. The orchestra of the Baroque period, in that time, the orchestra first began to take shape. At first, orchestra tended to describe a haphazard collection of whatever instruments were at hand. But as the 17th century progressed, the perfecting of string instruments, the violins in particular, by superb craftsmen such as Amati, Guarneri and Stradivari families, led to the establishing of the string section as a self-contained unit. And this became the foundation of the orchestra. And then the composers added other instruments to this basis. It could be in ones or twos. We had mostly flutes or recorders, oboes, bassoons, perhaps horns, and occasionally trumpets and the kettle drums. One constant feature of the Baroque orchestra, however, was the harpsichord or organ continue, filling out the harmonies, decorating the textures, and in fact holding the ensemble together. So the continue is like the glue of the orchestra. A strong characteristic of Baroque orchestral music is contrast. We just discovered now with the Concerto Grosso, we discovered again how important this contrast is, where I have a concertino group against everybody, tutti. A Baroque composer often contrasts big ribbons of sound, such as 2 oboes or 2 trumpets against a background of strings. Or he might contrast blocks of sounds of different colors. For example, a passage for strings, then for wind, then for both combined. Often you will notice what have been called terrace dynamics, sudden changes in volume such as forte, a drop to piano, and then an abrupt return to forte. Sometimes the quiet phrase may be a repeat of the preceding loud phrase, so creating an echo effect. And then you have another listening assignment. Listen to movements from Bach's Orchestral Suite No. 3, noting down any characteristic sounds of the Baroque orchestra that you hear. So for our next week or 2 weeks, we will concentrate on assignment 37, 38 and 39. So this is assignment 37, where you have to identify the continuo instruments and the concertino instruments. Of course, you have to listen to the whole work to see and hear the difference between the concertino and the ripieno, and notice the continue. Also listen to Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 2, so that you can hear out the continue and the concertino. I see the continue instrument there. That's a small group playing. There's the whole group playing again. Small group. And also find the sheet music of these pieces. That will help you a lot. There I see another of the smaller group instruments. So listen to the whole Brandenburg Concerto and also look at the sheet music. Assignment 38, you have to listen to the hand. Let's listen to that part. And that's the pattern that is printed in your book. And then you also have to set up a plan. There I hear that pattern again. So you have to listen to the whole thing before you start drawing up a plan. That's something different. Assignment 39, I have to listen to Orchestral Suite No. 3 and listen for all the characteristics of the orchestra that I hear. I would also listen for all the other characteristics that I have in Baroque music. So it's actually a very nice assignment. So this is the end of the whole series on Baroque music, and I will print the document of assignment 37, 38 and 39, the assignments, on Google Classroom. And good luck with your assignments.